So I am hosting here a webinar to talk about holistic channeling, what it is, and how it can support you in your life for health, for balance. And thank you for joining me to explore what this is in you. You know, channeling is an umbrella term. It really does include a lot of the extrasensory abilities within human beings. So we're going to kind of explore two different concepts of channeling in this talk. But first, I want to just introduce myself a little bit more and how I came to be here with you today. So I am Maria Owl, the creator of Holistic Channeling at Sacred Future. And I've been a channel my whole life, though I didn't call it that. And in my 20s, I experienced a ritual from these people came up to California from Brazil. And it was what's called the Candomblé religion or spiritual group. And they were doing an ancestor ritual. They were dancing. They had big drums, the conga drums they were playing. And there were very specific people in that group who were the mediums. And they would dance, and everybody was wearing white, and the mediums would dance, and then they'd fall into a trance. So all the dancers had spotters who would catch them and stand them back up. And once the mediums went into trance, they kind of put them in a line, and everybody who came to participate got to go and stand with one or everyone to receive a message. During that experience, something in me knew. I'd never witnessed anything like this before, though I had been traveling to South Dakota and Arizona to work with different indigenous peoples and medicine people. So I had witnessed doctoring ceremonies. I had witnessed these incredible things that people would not believe if I, when I tell them what I witnessed in a doctoring ceremony, right? Yet that wasn't trance channeling. It was a form of channeling. But the practitioners that I witnessed in the Dakotas were not going into trance. So this was something very different for me. Watching these Candomblé practitioners, the mediums, go into a trance state, and then something other than them was in their body talking to the people, giving them advice, giving them rituals to do, lighting candles, taking baths, how to heal themselves. And I went up to the different mediums and received instructions and guidance. That ceremony really blew my mind. And not that people could do that, but because I knew I could do it. I knew I could do it, but I had no idea how to get from where I was in that moment to developing my gift and being the person that could go into trance like that and be of service to my people. Well, it took about 13 years before I was able to find elders who could help me develop my gift in that way. So that was just me, right? Not everybody has the desire even, or the innate ability to go into these trance states. Some people are very prone to trance state, brainwave states shifting and opening to these realms where they link with other beings that are outside of themselves. And some people choose not to do that or don't do that, but they have other channeling abilities. So we're going to talk more about that too. I know that if you're here, you likely have some curiosity, some kind of channeling ability that you're curious about, want to develop, perhaps you're already developing it and you're somewhere on that journey. I call them sixth sense abilities. They are our sixth senses, extrasensory abilities. But it's also sensibility. It makes sense to develop them because they're a part of us. They're a part of every human being. So whether you're here today with a strong gift or a subtle gift, with an out of control gift or in control gift, with an acknowledged gift or an unacknowledged gift, wherever you're at in your journey, this is a natural part of you. And you have a choice. You can develop it. You can experience being in control of it in a very positive way, or not. So for our time together today, I want to invite you to have a few of your own kind of personal inquiries. So I'm going to be asking you a few questions today where I want to invite you to deepen in and tune into what is true for you with your gift. We're going to spend the second half of the day with Q&A. I'd love to hear your experience. What is happening for you and what you're curious about, where you want to develop a little further. And I can tell you if the holistic channeling seminars touch on these things, but I certainly love talking to people that are curious about this gift. I do want to have you consider as I'm talking that on April 16th and 23rd, the 2 Sundays at the end of April, that these are the 2 seminar Sundays for Holistic Channeling Level 1. Level 1 is very much an exploratory course, and it is really accessible. 2.5 hour seminars for 2 Sunday mornings or afternoons, depending on where you are, where we can dive into these things more and you get more personal time with me. So let's start with one of those questions. I want to invite you to take a breath, relax your body, let your mind go blank. Prepare for the question. If you like, you can place a hand on your heart. This allows consciousness, attention to drop down deeper into the body. And take another breath. My question for you is, are you a channel? Don't think about it. Just know the answer. If you have ever received sudden insight while driving or showering that helped you resolve a dilemma or clear a confusion, then you're a channel. If you have ever found yourself speaking powerful words to a friend or a group and then afterwards you thought, where did that come from? Then you're a channel. If you've ever written a question in your journal and the answer came pouring out on pages and pages without you even thinking about what you were writing, then you're a channel. If you've ever heard the phone ring and knew who it was before looking at the screen, then you're a channel. So I'm going to ask you again. Are you a channel? Did some of you have your answer just change from no to yes? Channeling is quite a large umbrella term that really kind of holds the list of our extrasensory abilities, such as clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, claircognizance. And these are words that simply mean you have a heightened sense of hearing. You can hear beyond the physical realm. You can see beyond the physical realm. You can sense beyond the physical realm. You can smell beyond the physical realm. These extrasensory abilities are definitely innate in us. And I want to give you an example. If you're familiar with the Institute of Noetic Sciences, they do amazing research. They actually do scientific research on paranormal abilities in people, where they hook people up, brainwaves, track their brainwaves, their temperature and everything, and they go into channeling. And I had a wonderful opportunity at the Institute of Noetic Sciences in their channeling research department, being one of their subjects that went into channeling while I was all rigged up. And it was fascinating. There was quite a large group of us, maybe 17, that were asked to do this. But the research I want to share with you now isn't about that specific study. I want to share with you an interesting study on mediumship that they did. So mediumship and channeling are different, but the same. So not all channels are mediums, but all mediums are channels. Channels simply means that you are tapping into non-local, non-temporal information. You are tapping into realms that are beyond your local, like physical self, in your physical and your local knowing of what this world and reality is, and you're getting information from beyond yourself. So a lot of us do that, right? Mediumship is very specific gift. It is when the individual has access to, very specifically, those who have deceased and gone to the afterlife. You could say the ones who have deceased and they haven't quite ascended yet. They're making their way. It could even be the realm of hungry ghosts, wandering lost souls, but also ascending ancestors who are making their way, and they are still communicating with the living. So that's who a medium is. A medium has this gift. So IONS was studying mediumship, and they had a control group of non-mediums, people who, did not have the gift and weren't in that realm, that world at all. And then there was the kind of expert mediums who were very much in that world. And the study consisted of, like, let's just say there were 60 photographs. Of all, 50% of the photographs were deceased people. 50% were people who were still alive. So the person would sit in a room by themselves and be shown one picture at a time, and they had to say, are they alive or dead? So at the close of this study, what they found was that they found many things, but one of the most curious things to me is that they found that the mediums had a very high rate of accuracy in deciding, and saying who's alive in the photo and who was deceased. But what's really interesting is that those who did not consider themselves mediums also had a high accuracy rate for the photos. And, this simply tells me that we are tapped into something always beyond ourselves, that we are part of this great web of energy that is constantly cycling, and consciousness that is vaster than us but holds all of us and all life. And you could call it the quantum. That's a really kind of easy accessible term for it, that we have access to this quantum field. And we are also wired to be intuitive. I mean, humanity, you could say, I mean, we used to have much larger pineal glands, right? If you studied ancient cultures, particularly Egyptian, um, Mayan, there is, you know, there are, this is a rabbit hole. I'm just going to touch on it. You know, they found skeletons, they found skulls with the elongated skulls, giants, right? And these predecessors or these friends that shared the earth with us before they went who knows where um, had these abilities as well, and had larger pineal glands. And there is, in the Mayan culture in particular, there is a real emphasis, once you know how to read the glyphs and the carvings on the ancient sites, on the pyramids, you see it everywhere. You see the faces with the pineal glands, like a big marking here, big ears coming off the carved heads, representing they could hear beyond, they could hear into the Akashic records, they could hear beyond the physical realm. They would have a symbol of the sun on their heart, right? They're connected to this solar logos, they're connected. They would have a jaguar on their head. Jaguar is the symbol of the guardian, the guide that can move between the worlds, right? So it is perhaps time for us to reclaim our innate gift. It is time to take it seriously and start developing it. Many mystics and metaphysicians and quantum scientists and parapsychologists have attempted to name and describe exactly what are we accessing beyond ourselves when we channel or when we have our intuitive moments. Wilhelm Reich called it orgone. Ancient Greece referred to it as ether, A-E-T-H-E-R. In the field of theosophy, they're the ones that coined the term the Akashic records. And they said that it existed in a mental field outside of the human being. In spiritual traditions, Christian traditions, you are tapping into the angelic realms. In New Age language, it's the realm of the ascended masters, the ascended beings. Are we tapping into a quantum field of universal knowledge and information available to all of us? Or are we linking to a being that lives at a higher frequency and they are giving us the answers to our questions? So what is happening when we're channeling? Where are we getting this information? Of course, both are true. For me personally, it feels different if I'm tapping into a collective field of knowledge versus when I am channeling a being that is a completely separate pattern of consciousness than my own. So think of it this way. If you were to walk into a great library and nobody else was in that library, and you walked in and you walked up to a wall of books and you take out a book of wisdom and you start to read it, how do you feel in your nervous system as you do that? It feels different when you're alone. You know you're alone when you're alone. We can sense life forms around us. We can also sense when it's a human being versus a bird or a deer or a tree, right? So now imagine this. You walk into a great library, and right in front of you is this great egg-shaped ball of white light. And that white light turns into the form of a woman who is 7 feet tall wearing robes. She's clearly not you or an aspect of you. How do you know? Your nervous system knows. And she begins to speak with you telepathically. You hear her voice in your head, and it's not your voice. And the things that she's saying are unknown to you until she says them. So yes, I studied psychotherapy, I studied hypnotherapy for 8 years. I studied herbalism for 5 years. I am aware of the subpersonalities, of the inner parts. I'm aware that there is a difference between an aspect of ourselves versus something that is a separate entity with their own consciousness, their own soul journey, their own experience of reality. And when you encounter a being that is not you, whether negative or positive, your nervous system knows it. So part of being a holistic channel is being tuned in to your nervous system, getting to know your way of knowing. You need to know yourself. You need to understand your body. You need to understand how your mind works. You need to understand your psychology, your emotional wounding. You need to be clear and be willing to look at it and understand the pattern of it, as well as your spiritual nature, the frequency. What is that unique signature frequency of your own soul? This is something you need to become very intimate with and to know your tone, your frequency, because then it will be much easier when you encounter something that is not you on the astral plane and the etheric plane, that has a message for you or perhaps wants to harm you, right? So knowing yourself is key in holistic channeling. Channeling includes, so I want to talk a little bit about some of this category of channeling. So in the umbrella of channeling, and then we have clairaudience, clairvoyance, like all of these extrasensory abilities, these paranormal abilities, you could call them as well. Within that, there is one ability that is called trance channeling. So it's channeling, but it's trance channeling. And so this is the gift of linking with a consciousness that is not you and bringing through either verbally, written, painting, your body dancing, bringing through something other than your consciousness in a collaboration, ideally, in a positive energy. And this trance channeling brings through benefit for humanity, benefit for you and your life. It's a blessing, it's a clearing, it's a healing. It uplifts, it gives energy. You could say celestial energies or higher frequency health giving energies to your cells. It is an amazing experience when you link to a positive, loving, higher frequency being. And I feel like I'm preaching to the choir right now. All of you probably know this and have your own personal experiences with it. Whether in a dream or in a meditation or just sitting in nature. So I need to talk about the other side of the coin here. And this is the side of the coin of being an out of control trance channel. When it was, so what do I mean by out of control? I define out of control as different from undeveloped, although out of control includes undeveloped ability, gift, right? Somebody can have an undeveloped gift, yet have, you know, a very secure attachment in their life. They grew up and had a lot of support. Maybe they didn't explore their spiritual path very much, but maybe that came later in life. But they really don't have a lot of hard traumas, acute traumas in their life that may have triggered their gift into awakening, maybe too soon or in a harsh way. Maybe their gift just blossomed open in a natural, innate way, right? Organic way. So that's an undeveloped gift where that person can go to teachers, schools, train, and open the gift and begin to learn about it. An out of control channel or medium is somebody who has, in my definition, who has had an experience of trauma that jars them and awakens their gift. You could say too soon, or in a traumatic way, in an unexpected way. And some of examples of that is through a drug overdose. Some people have that experience. Through a head trauma, through sexual abuse is a very common way. And why? Because there is dissociation happening, leaving the body. So it's important to kind of like understand in yourself where you fall in that place of developed, not developed, out of control, not developed, or just developing, right? For me, I was an out of control channel. And I had the gift from birth, and it would have naturally blossomed had I had the holding and the mentorship, right? Of course, all of us can say that. We all have intuition. Yet I had it jolted awake in me through head trauma, through sexual abuse, through car accident. Unfortunately, I had like all of it. And my gift became very strong and very out of control. What do I mean by out of control? When you are a child, you have sensitivities already. You can tune into the subtle plane. But for a child, it is not for a child to be a shaman. A child needs to be a child. They need to play, they need to learn and grow and, learn from their witnessing, the people around them, who they are, what they like, what they don't like, being a child. This is not the time to, start to do in between the world journeys on behalf of others, and channel messages. I think for children that happens naturally. They just do it. It's just who they are. They talk to plants. They're just in a constant reciprocity and flow with the world. And that's how it should be, right? For an out of control medium who their gift through usually the head trauma or the dissociating to be safe, like the acute trauma where it's like life or death, or, and you leave the body, to dissociate. This begins a pattern in the individual that creates a what I call susceptibility. So those beings that are outside of us in the astral planes and the etheric realm, they're entities who have a negative agenda, perhaps. They're wandering hungry ghost. And they see that there's a person who is undeveloped in their gift, but they're leaving their body. All they're seeing is that there's an empty vessel. And that's an opportunity for an entity that wants to embody again, right? So something that is not that individual is coming into that individual. And yes, that's channeling. Unfortunately, it's called spirit, it's called possession. It's a possession. So out of control channels, the reason why I'm highlighting this so much is because those with trauma and that is how their gift kind of accelerated and shocked open, may have a tendency for being a target. I hate to use that word, but it's kind of accurate, for these disembodied spirits who have a negative intention. For me, I had to constantly fight these beings off all through my childhood, and it was pretty horrible. Luckily, and I do say this just with so much sincerity and earnestness, luckily I was at Catholic school. I wasn't baptized Catholic, so I didn't have to go through their ceremonies, confirmation, communion, etc. But I was in Catholic school for 8 years. And I had this profound connection with Jesus and Mary. And every night before bed, I prayed for 20 minutes straight. I said my prayers. And I felt nervous system, remember? Our nervous system knows. I felt Jesus sitting right next to my bedside, protecting me. Physically, I had to go through what I went through, but spiritually, I was protected. And I knew that these beings that were negative, they could scare me, but they couldn't really get me. I just knew that. I knew that my light was too strong, even at a young age. So I want to pause there and invite you to take a breath and bring your awareness within yourself. Relax your body and put a hand on your heart. And just feel your attention kind of settle down in your body, in your heart. I'm going to ask you a question. Let your mind go blank. Are you an out of control channel? Don't think about it, just know. Some of the symptoms of an out of control channel include dissociation, going into a sleep paralysis when you're falling asleep, easily hypnotizable, a sense of overwhelm at feeling other people's feelings and emotions, overwhelm because you hear everybody's thoughts, something moving your body that isn't you, something speaking through you that isn't you, without your permission, without your invitation. Nightmares where someone is trying to possess your body, chronic neck pain or dizzy spells, objects moving in your house or being thrown, seeing ghosts, or being followed home by lost souls, clearing others of attached lost souls just by standing next to the person, feelings of despair and anxiety that you know isn't your organic feeling state and frequency, hearing a voice in your head that wants to harm you or for you to harm yourself or others. So I'm going to ask you again, if you had more than three or four of these, you are an out of control channel. So take a breath, hand on the heart, relax your body. Are you an out of control channel? It's not a bad thing. Those of you who are getting yeses to many of these symptoms and who are identifying with this harder aspect of being a channel, you are courageous, you are strong, and you don't have to live in that anxiety state anymore. You don't have to live in a defended state anymore. You don't have to be afraid of your spiritual energy anymore. Many times, the spiritual energies and those heightened energies that happen when we channel, when it's a positive being, for somebody that was triggered into their gift through a trauma, those beautiful, blissful, ecstatic frequencies can feel scary to that person because the original experience of that kind of energy was a negative one, right? So I want to just let you know, if you got a yes, that you're not alone. You don't have to live like this anymore. There is a safe and effective way to develop your ability where you land in your body, feel your vitality, where you can choose when and how you interact with the ancestors, when and how, if you even want to interact with those who deceased. You get to choose how you run your energy, and nobody has permission into your personal energetic astral space. Never mind your physical, without your permission, without your permission. So part of holistic channeling is helping students to really realize their sovereignty, get into the body. One of the first things that we do at the holistic channeling level 4 retreat is a cleanse. Like, everybody starts a cleanse before they even come, and then we continue it while we're together at the retreat, because if your body is full and congested, with substances that you're allergic to, that you're having an inflammatory reaction to, a histamine reaction to, and you have stagnancy, perhaps, you have parasites, perhaps. Well, this is all your vessel. You are the vessel through which energy channels. And that energy cannot channel through you in a healthy, beneficial way unless your body is clean. Unless you're taking good care of your body and you're doing regular cleansing and you're giving your body all the water it needs and you're giving yourself earth energy and you're meditating, right? And so that's what I mean by holistic channeling. It's not just about, let's develop a channeling gift, right? Let me show you how to link with a ascended master and now you go on your way. That would be so irresponsible of me, given what I have experienced in my life and what I've witnessed. Hundreds of channels, hundreds of medicine people throughout my life. The good and the bad and the ugly and the ecstatic. I've seen so much. So I'm not here to, give you a how to channel, like one pill for everybody. I'm here to invite you to actually think of holistic channeling as a way of life. It is a lifestyle. Because if you own that you're a channel, that your body is designed as a conduit for energy, for frequency, and if you own that, then there is a humbling, sobering, secondary follow-up thought of, I better take care of myself. I better take care of myself and be clean and clear on all these levels of my being. Be responsible with your thoughts, the frequency of your thoughts. Be responsible with what you eat. Be responsible for how you treat others. How honest are you to yourself? Have you moved into purposeful, intentional, self-loving healing processes to clear and transform and transmute the still remaining traumatic patterning in your body, right? These are your responsibilities. And for somebody who has stagnant energy and doesn't isn't aware to the degree to which their trauma runs their life. When they channel, there's more possibility of linking with trickster energies. I'm not saying this to scare you, and I'm not saying it across the board that this is true for everybody. But what I have seen in my life, what I've witnessed for myself, is that is kind of a high percentage of truth in that statement. And so, number one thing with holistic channeling is getting yourself in alignment, getting yourself to a place of, I know myself because I know my source. I know my God. I know myself because I know my source, the infinite source that I am a part of, birthed from, and am an emanation of. That's foundation. Foundation. I had somebody want to work with me once. He came to a ceremony I was leading, and afterward we talked for a while, and he said, I know I would benefit so much from what you teach, but I'm not ready yet. And he was wearing all black. He looked very, a little bit possessed. My nervous system could feel it. There is something seducing him. And he said, I'm not ready. I'm not ready to let go of dabbling, in these darker realms. He just was honest. And I'm like, okay, you know where I am when you're ready. So where does your devotion lie? Where does your devotion lie? I know for those of you on this call, you are probably very 100% clear where your devotion lies. With love, with love, with love. And I can feel your heart has a desire to be of service in a really positive way. So with that, I want to invite you to consider joining me. Joining me for level 1. Level 1 is just basically going into everything I've talked about today and a little bit more, but it's all focused on you. It's all focused on who are you as a channel, breaking down your abilities, your 6 sensibilities. Where are you strongest? Where do you want to develop more? What has really informed you in your life? For me, I was very informed by my clairvoyance growing up and through adulthood. I've always been hyper visual. And it's something I can do. When I guide people through visualizations, it's almost as if I can project that visualization for the group or for the person, that they're really able to see it, where before they said like, oh, I'm not a visual person. With me, somehow people are. And I think that's because it's one of my stronger gifts, obviously, right? What is your strongest gift? What has really been, something that has carried you through life that maybe you take for granted even? Are you clairaudient? Are you empathic? Are you telekinetic? You can move things with your mind. I think there are more telekinetic people than we know out there. So I'm curious where you want to go next with this ability. How could it serve you, your life, and others? Let me give you an example of how I've seen channeling, in particular trance channeling, be a benefit. When I first started trance channeling, I still had a lot of stagnancy in my body. And I had to stop for 2 years to clear myself. And then once I did that, it just started happening organically. And when these frequencies started coming through, at first it was just this great mother frequency. The great mother would come in, and that's all I could feel. It was feminine, I could feel it was cosmic universal, and I could feel it was pure love. And I would just relax and open, and I felt like I was being healed every time. And I was speaking, I was channeling this message of love, of kindness, of beauty. And afterward, I would listen to it. I've never been a blackout channel, and I would never want to be. And I differ in opinion with some people on this. I really believe that we can be fully conscious and fully surrendered of our own will for these higher communions with higher frequencies. So I could sit back and I can hear myself talking, but I'm right there listening. And after years and years of developing my channeling gift in this way, with this pure loving frequency, my life began to change. My health began to change. My vision began to change. Like all of these, where I used to think that it was difficult to maintain a certain frequency every single day. 2 years later, that's where I just live, right? And I attribute that to my own inner work and also to my ability to go into meditation and just be a conduit for these pure, loving energies. They help to rewire me, recalibrate me. And I say they, where I think that we all know that it's the oneness. It's the oneness. So I believe that a developed, responsible, trans-channeling ability can be used simply for personal health and growth. Some people may feel called to be of service to others with their gift. Most people don't, but some people do. And so, again, you start with yourself, you develop yourself, and then you'll know when to offer something to somebody else, always by asking permission first, always asking permission. So, what I'm after as a facilitator of this work is that my students learn lifestyle practices that every channel and medium can do to ensure energetic and physical body integrity for transmitting. What I'm after is that you know how to keep your energy body clean and clear, and what physical and emotional symptoms to look for that tell you that there's an imbalance or a stagnancy happening. I'm after that you know how to develop a strong protection and a strong discernment as you encounter deceased human beings, souls, or multidimensional entities, positive or negative, that you can discern this is me, that's not me. Very important. And I'm after that you know how to develop healthy high vibration connections to the spiritual helpers and guides, the ancestors, the nature beings of loving light, and that you are able to bring those through and bring through a message that is accurate, that really, how do you know it's accurate? Because it proves itself. You receive a message, you wait, you receive another message, you see a synchronicity, you act on the message, and your life changes for the better. Your life changes for the better. So how do you trust the transmissions coming through you? How do you trust your intuition? And then how do you trust the messages from the information from outside of you? Both need to be aligned, right? You with you with others. So that's what I'm after. I love to contextualize things within real time, like what's happening on the planet right now, because it makes a difference. If I had taught this class in, the 90s, the early 90s, I would have had a really different, students coming to me. We would be focusing in a different, really different way. And today in 2023, we are in a really pronounced global solar system wide up leveling, and we have access to frequencies that we haven't had access to at such a large scale before. And so those of us who are sensitive know this. We've been feeling it. We've been feeling the upward tick of the frequencies on the planet, the veil dropping. I know that my ability to see energy and beings, just with my eyes open, has drastically changed in the last 10 years, because I really attribute this to the times that we're living in now and what's happening with our beautiful sun, our solar logos, and the ascension quantum leap that you could say that our planet's in right now. And so everything in context, what are we being called to do? And if you were born with a mission to serve in these times, and you're ready to clean and clear yourself to be available for your mission, then these courses are wonderful for you, because especially level 1 and 2 and 3, the online ones that are just exploratory, because we're just talking like we're talking now. I'm running you through exercises, and you're journaling, and it's a lot of self-inquiry, with lecture, with teaching about brainwave states, the levels of trance, more into mediumship across many cultures, and things like that. So we go into some really interesting topics, but at the same time, coupled with the inquiry, and where do you still notice, there's a resistance to clean and clear this area of your life, but this area is easy. What's wonderful about level 4 is that it's in person, and this isn't another part of the answer to your question, Ginger, is my experience has been my gift. There's something so beautifully intelligent in us that's guiding us all the time. And my intelligence knew, my higher self wisdom knew, that I needed to be in a certain container for my gift for me to surrender and feel safe enough to surrender to the level at which my gift could fully show itself to me. I couldn't get there by myself. I didn't feel safe enough by myself meditating. I could get to a certain level of my gift, but not the full trance channeling state, which is for me personally. I'm not saying this is everybody, but for me personally, remember in my 20s, I saw the candomblé ceremony and the woman was spinning and went into trance. That's me. I can do that. So that was my reference from my 20s onward. I'd watch the medicine men doing their healing work, and I'd be like, I think I can do some of that. But when I saw that woman go into trance dancing, I knew that was me. So what is your gift, right? And
separation.
For me, I needed to have a group containment, because the group held the frequency. I didn't have to hold the frequency for myself. The group held the frequency. The elders in the group, because this was an African tradition I was in for this first experience I had, trance channeling, The elders knew. I mean, it's a spirit possession religion, Ifa Orisha. They knew exactly how to hold me, how to help me, how to get me into a trance state, and I was able to trust them. I could just relax and go with it. And that enabled me to see the extent of my ability. If I had not had that circle holding me, I would not know today. And so that's why in level 4 we gather in person. And after the exploratory, courses in holistic channeling, those who really know that this is their devotional path and they are ready to develop as oracles, as channels, as mediums, then that's a whole other program in training, right? But the exploratory is, diving into topics, Q&A, inner inquiry, and then we get in person for level 4 retreat, and you have an opportunity to be held in a frequency to start to explore safely what might move through you, and the space is held with such purity, like such love. So that's the purpose of the exploratory, levels 1, 2, 3, 4. And the first 3 are online, really easy access. So I invite any of you who are interested, just hop onto level 1 and, dive into the dialogue a little further. And, join the family, join the Sacred Future family. It's a really beautiful family of light workers and star seeds and, and channels and priests, and however you identify yourself, that's your own, your own personal knowing of who you are. No shame in that, no guilt in that, no hiding in that. Own who you are, please. You don't have to like shout it from the rooftops and, like convince other people who you are, but you need to know who you are. In order for your gifts to have a safe place to develop, you, the container of your mind, body, spirit, you have to be in integrity with yourself. Know who you are. If you're an oracle, claim that. If you're a high priestess and you remember many past lives, claim it. Or a priest, right? Claim it. If you're a shaman, you travel between the worlds, you interact with, the jaguars and the anacondas, and please admit it to yourself. Be honest with yourself. It's not about other people, but your gifts. You can't honestly and cleanly develop your gifts if part of you is saying no to who you truly are. If you're afraid of becoming who you truly came here to be, right? So at least in your own personal way, look in the mirror and say, I see you. I love you. I get you. This is who I am. And I'm not going to run away from it anymore. Instead, I'm going to preemptively and consciously and purposefully begin to develop my gifts. All right. So in closing, take a breath, hand on the heart, relax your body. Wrap your arms around yourself and give yourself a big hug, because you are precious beyond belief. And you chose this life for a reason. And you are love itself. What might you be capable of by simply knowing, admitting, and embodying the truth that you are love itself? The higher density helpers love us. They're here for us. They are teachers, they are guides, they are healers. They are with each of you, your personal guides, and we have planetary guides, we have solar system guides. These helpers are pure love, and it is, I want to say, our birthright to access our multidimensional nature and be in our families of light. These are our family. They're our friends. They aren't something other than us. They aren't a frequency that is not us. we share that frequency. We can move into those higher frequencies and link with them and have conversations with these loving family members, our star family, our friends, our angels, whatever you want to call them, whatever it is for you. So maybe it's time. Maybe it's time for you to start this journey. I look forward to seeing you again. Blessings and aloha, everyone. Thank you.